Here's the ultimate guide to writing sales emails that actually convert. So the first thing when you're writing a sales email is you want to start with a catchy subject line that grabs attention. Don't overthink the subject line. It's very small space, the subject line, and typically data shows that 2 words or is the highest open rate subject line. So something like your name plus the client's name, hey, first name, reaching out, trying to connect, things like that, really short that are just like to the point, right? Our meeting request, like these are all very great subject lines that get a high open rate. So that's the first thing. It's catchy, it's simple, and it's very clear on what you want. Next thing you want to do is you want to personalize your greeting to make the recipient feel valued. Now, personalization doesn't have to be like you did a whole report on them and like know what their fears are and their favorite sports and things like that. But something like, hey, I saw you're the marketing director over at Blank. I thought you were interested in maybe increasing revenue via ads. I don't know if that's something you're interested in right now, right? But like just making it a little bit personalized. If you can use some form of personalization like video or audio message in there, I think that typically works really well. That works better on LinkedIn direct messages versus like email, because a lot of times in the email it'll end up getting marked as spam because if it's from somebody they've never seen before, adding any link is going to oftentimes get you categorized as, at best promotions, at most spam, which is not cool. Next thing you want to think about is keeping the body concise and just focus on one clear message. Typically, the framework is like, call out your person, explain what you do, maybe mention a case study of a similar client, and then ask if they are interested in what you're doing. That's it. It doesn't have to be this book. You can send a book depending on the nature of your relationship. For instance, if you have a little bit more of a connection with them via social media or something, sometimes a slightly longer email can actually help. But typically we found that smaller emails convert higher because you're making it easier for them to say yes or no. You're not making it very challenging for them to say if they're interested or not. So that's typically what I would say is keep it very short, concise, and focus on one outcome. Okay. Next thing is to make sure you have a very strong call to action to guide the recipient. So your call to action should typically be a question, I've found. You could, if you want, like have people schedule in or whatever. Like a lot of people like to send people to book a call with them. I've found that that's typically less effective now just because there's so many cold email people who have kind of abused the system. And so people aren't super excited to book into strangers' calendars a lot of the times, unless what you have is very novel or unique, in which case you probably could get away with that. But what I've typically found is just asking if they're interested is a good enough call to action. If you need a little bit more, you could ask if they're, do you want to talk more is another thing, or would you like to set up a call is a little bit more direct without leaving it so vague as like, are you interested? But something that's easy to respond to, yes or no, is typically what you want to do. And then the last thing you want to include is a PS to reiterate your main point and add some sort of urgency. Like an example might be, you may only be able to take on 2 clients this month. And so you know that, but your customer doesn't know that. So making it clear, hey, I'm only taking on 2 people this month. I really want you to be one of them. Let me know if you're interested in checking this out. And now they have a reason to move forward. Another thing could be maybe you're increasing your prices. That's another way to add some sort of sense of urgency. I typically advise people at least slightly raise their prices for new customers at minimum every year, but every quarter is even better. Again, it adds real urgency. And I would keep doing that until you find that your conversion rate starts to dip. Typically, you won't find that happens for a long time. You'll be surprised, I think, by how much you're undercharging for what you're doing. Okay. So yeah, implement those tips. It'll increase your email response rate. For us, we typically see about a 60% open rate on emails and a 20% reply rate, with about 1 in every 4 interested, 5 or 6 if you're a highly competitive vertical. That's probably better than most cold email agencies from my knowledge. And because of that, we don't have to send tens of thousands every single month. We can send 50 a day and you're going to get some pretty good results and consistent meetings. So if this is helpful, share this with somebody who maybe needs some help with their email marketing or who is struggling with getting responses to their emails.